Hi folks, welcome to the A Minute to Midnight Show. This is Tony coming to you from New Zealand.
This is Doug calling from Canada.
Yeah, it's great to have Doug Godkin back on the show. And we've done one show together a few months ago. Haven't really caught up since until now. But I was thinking the other day it would be great to have you back, considering so much of what's going on at the moment with your knowledge on things. And I'll just get you a chance to tell people a little bit about where you're at and what you do. As an aside, folks, I got back to New Zealand from Pennsylvania, summer in Pennsylvania, winter here in New Zealand, and I'm battling a bit of a cold and flu. So if I'm sounding a bit congested, that's why. It was a bit of a shock going from the high temperatures, I think, to the cold, and probably picked up a bug somewhere along the way. So I'll do my best, and I'll let Doug do most of the talking anyway. So welcome, Doug.
Hey, thanks for having us back again. And my name is Doug Godkin. I'm a partner founder in a company called Ameo Life, and we make a number of health supplements and formulate a number of silver-based products. But I'd say the most important thing for us and what we do and who we are in this is the foundation of divine creation and the foundation of understanding that our bodies are a gift. And when we look at supplementation and we look at everything that's going on in the world right now, it's what we can do that our Creator gave us to help us bring healing to the body. And the further that we kind of dive into things is, and we were talking about this just before the episode here, is understanding that a lot of what's going on right now is actually a spiritual attack against us, and especially a spiritual attack against us as believers. And, we take kind of this message and let's say this approach to things back to Genesis in the Bible. And, God created us in his image, and he created a world around us that supports the health and supports the lifestyle of us to live a healthy and abundant life. So when and this is something that not a lot of people, I'm going to say, are talking about, because everybody's kind of got this vengeance, let's say, against the large companies that produce the things that have been going in the arms for the last couple of years and those substances. And beyond that, there's a lot of products, let's say, and I'm just trying to speak properly here so that we make this safe for all platforms, but all of these different substances that are going into the human body that I'm going to say are laboratory created and not natural. And as much as we like to pick on those companies, they're actually just a small part of the overall part of this, because we've got the foods, we've got the personal care products, we've got all of these things that are highly, highly chemical laden that go into and onto our body every day. So taking this back to the Genesis, story and creation and how we were created and came to be, what we have to understand is our body was created to heal itself, right? And it was created to heal itself and live a healthy and abundant life based on us taking the compounds of the earth, and they were coming through foods, let's say, predominantly, back then and through history. It was, food was medicine, and there's a lot of information about food is medicine. But what we've got now is we've got a world that's so ruined, let's say, as far as food supply, as far as medicine supply, as far as care product supply. And when I go back to that Genesis story, we know that there's an enemy, and that enemy has done nothing more and wanted to do nothing more than to destroy us. He's the destroyer. He's the liar. So we're target number one, let's say, in who we are, created in God's image and likeness, and Satan has been after to destroy us since day one. And if we take that and look at, and you cover a lot of subjects on this channel, Tony. So I'm going to kind of speak a little bit wider, let's say, because I know you guys are diving into a lot of the subjects that touch this.
Yeah.
But when we look at the enemy's plan to destroy, we know where all of this is going in the long term, right?
Yeah.
And your show isn't a minute to midnight because it's 11:30. It's a minute to midnight because, it's that 60 seconds is counting down fast.
Yeah.
So as we see everything kind of ramping up, let's say, we're really seeing that health happen in health as well to people. And I'm going to say we see the enemy's footprints on and fingerprints on so much more now. And we've seen that a lot on what's happened over the last 2 years. That was, I'm going to say, one of his sales tools to further decimate our bodies, right?
Yeah.
And, this is why we're seeing such a destruction, let's say, to the natural health supplement industry. And if we look at what's happening in Canada, I'm personally located in Canada and our supplement companies are in the States. But as a Canadian and seeing what the government has just passed here and snuck past into a finance bill, is what's going to be the eradication or the eroding of the supplement industry. And if they would have come out and tried to ban the supplement industry, the feedback or the revolt would have been strong. But what they're doing is they're trying to regulate the supplement industry here in Canada to a point where Canadian companies won't be able to afford to operate. And so they're putting a huge fee base on Canadian supplement companies. And I don't know what that's looking like yet for importing, supplements into Canada. But as far as producing, manufacturing, and selling products in Canada, it's going to really, really cripple that industry. But we see the government of Canada here put a lot more emphasis into the things that we've seen over the last 2 years, and they're really starting to ramp up on another campaign of it's time to do that again. So we see back to that destruction of mankind, or that destruction of our bodies, because we have to remember that our body is just a vessel too, right? And that that war against our vessel of our human bodies is just continuing to increase and increase and increase. And like I say, I believe that if we look at the big picture of this, it's a complete spiritual attack against us and against what we were created in the image of.
I completely agree. And then I'm looking, you're talking about the supplements industry, and obviously that's a big part of the target. But then just all our food, how in the guise of saving the planet from climate catastrophe, they want to stop us eating meat and have us eating bugs and and other dairy products, get rid of them and make these artificial products for everything. So they'll have us, they want to have us living completely dependent on them with artificial products and away from the natural thing altogether. And I mean, there's no logical, real reason for that apart from, as you say, it's a satanic agenda at the core, really.
And it's a greed agenda. Like if we take it back to a spiritual level of what are the tools that the enemy uses to control mankind, right?
Yeah.
And greed and power are two big ones. And as we're all born into God's image and likeness, we fall into this sin lifestyle. But it's like, what are the components that the enemy's using to control us to perform what he wants us to do, right? And so when we look at these foods, we look at these things that go into the body that we get in the pharmacy, we look at all of these different things, it's all controlled by patents. And what controls patents is funding, is money, is growth for these companies and profits, right?
Yeah.
So the problem with natural supplementation in the big part is you can't patent a herb or botanical. So for instance, one of our products that we produce is silver. We can't patent this because it's a naturally occurring mineral, and then the water we use is a naturally occurring water. We're not, and this isn't a sales technique, it's just strictly understanding how this works. So being the fact that we take everything sourced from earth as it is from the earth into our product, we can't patent it, right?
Yeah.
But if we were to take it, and this is how the drug industry works, is they can take those things, they can change it up a little bit, play with it in a laboratory, put a patent on it, now they control it. And the profits behind that are absolutely enormous. But the havoc that those things wreak on our body are enormous as well. And, you know, back to the story of where and how we came from as people is our bodies were never designed to work with chemicals. And I kind of put it towards people sometimes is, you know, you wouldn't put rice in the radiator of your car, and you wouldn't put water in the oil canister of your car, because you know what the catastrophic results would be, right?
Yeah.
So, but we're asking our human body to do that every single day, multiple times a day, with everything we put into our body. And then on the other side of it, we're saying, well, body, why aren't you functioning properly? Why are you sick? Why are you getting disease? Why are you gaining weight? Why am I going through all of these sufferings, where if we did that same thing to our car, we'd blow our car up or burn our house down, but we're expecting our body to do that. And I think in so many cases, people aren't just getting explained this on a very easy, simple level, and it gets confusing. But I think we have to take everything to a foundation of one place, and a foundation of truth, and look at where it orbits around from there.
Yeah, okay. So just looking at that in terms of how we actually do these things, how do we avoid these chemicals? And I guess, you know, I look at one thing that's obvious. People go, oh, well, supplements, I can just go to the supermarket and pick up whatever brand of something, you know, but then you start reading the labels and they're full of the chemicals, these vitamins and minerals and different things, and it's like, wait a minute, what's this? You know?
So I guess a couple quick down and dirty things here. If you pick up a supplement in a health food store or in a supermarket, never ever look at the front of that product. That's just to catch your eye, to get you to buy the product. You've got to flip that product around and look at the nutritional or the supplement facts on it. And the most important thing, and this is just kind of like the quickest down and dirty crash course in how to choose a supplement, is look below I'm going to say the active ingredients, which is always at the top. Look at what's the other ingredients, or in some cases it may say non-medical ingredients. And if there's a bunch of words there that you don't understand, or about 16 syllables, put it down and go for the next one. That's the easiest way to look at it, because first and foremost, a huge portion of the supplement companies that are found on the shelves of the grocery store are owned by the large companies that are putting things in your arms. That's step one. Especially when we get into the grocery stores. Number two is when you see a lot of the products online, those are coming from multi-distribution companies, and they use a very ineffective, cheap ingredient in the bulk of them. That's harder to identify because they'll show up as an active. It comes back to, like I say, I kind of teach everybody to look at the other ingredients. And if a company is filling a product full of those, you know, mitocrystallines and sugars, and you'd be surprised at how much sugar and glucose and stuff you'll find in vitamins and supplements. Like, the bulk of the reason we're taking these supplements is to help the body restore itself. Why are you putting ingredients in there that are taking it backwards? So the nice thing is there's always a way to make a supplement without having to add the chemicals and the fillers and the toxins. It's just a matter of taking some due diligence in order to find those companies that actually care enough about you to not put those things in your body. So that's kind of it from a supplement standpoint. You know,
well, I was just sorry, Holly, my wife, when we were in Pennsylvania, looking for vitamin supplements, you know, and she's like that. She'll look at the go to the shelf and go, what's in it, and looking for vitamin C and vitamin D and a few other things. And then walked out of the supermarket. It's like, this has got blah, blah, and blah, blah in it. It's like, we're not getting these, So then I had some New Zealand vitamins from another company that we have here, and they had less problem things in it. So, but
you've got a stricter body that's controlling that or regulating that in New Zealand than you do in the United States.
Right.
The United States is pretty relaxed on that. So I would say that you're getting a better quality of supplement overall in New Zealand than you would, on the grocery stores of the United States. It's a bit of a free-for-all in the US, and that's the market that we play in. And one of the things I've been doing is just building this glossary, for instance, on our website with every single ingredient to where it is, where it's sourced, what the lab test is, to try and find how do we better, help customers make these better decisions. And this isn't a plug or anything. It's just in this day and age.
But while you're on it, just tell people your website, though, because I'm sure some will listen to this and want to go find it. So, yeah.
Oh, Ameo, AMEOLIFE.com, AmeoLife.com. And, in this age, like we're all in this together, how I look at it. And I'm not here with you today trying to sell supplements. It's trying to help people understand what we can all do to be healthier together. And so, there's a little bit of discussion on the supplements, but when it comes into foods, and then personal care products, for instance, personal care products are one of the worst. When we look at the ingredients in lotions, and I'm calling lotions and potions and shampoos, but I mean all of these things get absorbed from the skin and through and into our liver, and so our topical products are as harmful as the foods and the other things we're taking. So once again, just taking the time to look at the back of the product, forget what's said on the front of the product, forget that it says it contains anything healthy or anything like that. Just look at the back, and if it's full of all sorts of chemicals, put it on the shelf and go to the next one. And then when we look at our foods, the food is a tough one. I try to, especially in the summer months here, we support the farmers markets, and where you can actually have a conversation with the grower. And like you, I'm a musician as well. And, one of the members of my band is one of the farmers where I get stuff from, my eggs and different things. And, just understanding, okay, what are you using? How are you feeding this kind of stuff? And I think the more that we can understand from the sourcing of our foods, we're not going to be able to live 100% chemical-free life. And people can try and say that and all this kind of stuff, but we're to a point now where it's difficult, and we have to just do our absolute best every day to make the wisest and the smartest decisions in sort of what we put into and onto our body. And then just look at everything, like I say, we put into our body. Is this taking me in a positive direction or a negative direction, and understanding the foundation of where that comes from.
Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, I guess the big money, as you say, is controlling everything, and attempting to basically control and regulate everything to the nth degree. It's going to get more and more difficult to be able to get products that are not controlled by these conglomerates. So, how do we avoid it?
Some of the stuff we can make at home, we can grow our own herbs at home and that kind of thing. Because my biggest fear right now is, and you've been talking about this on your channel, is around this global banking platform, right?
Yeah.
And so right now, all products, and I'll talk about online here for a second as compared to retail for a minute, but any product that exists that sells a product from a website is only as good as their merchant processing account.
Yeah.
Right? And we look at Amazon, and we look at some of these big players, let's say, and what this is where when we look at CBD, for instance, and I've never been into the CBD space, but forever nobody could sell CBD products online because there wasn't a merchant processor that would process the payments for people to buy the products online. So my biggest fear now is as we move into this global banking cartel, let's say, is all of these products will be dictated as to what you can sell and what you can process versus what you can't. And I think that's how they'll end up regulating a lot of these, because they all hated melatonin for a while, and there's been certain substances that they've not liked over years and banned from processing. So I can see a lot of what we're doing as a company, from silver, from fulvic acid, these products that, everybody knows for thousands of years, silver has been one of the most effective antimicrobials there is. So these products that provide the most vastness amount of giving the body what it needs to heal are always the top ones that they want to go after, right? And there's been some lists that I've seen of kind of like the 50 most hated substances by these big corporations, and turmeric and aloe and zinc, and it's like everything that has a multi-usage ability is what's demonized the most, right? And it's not demonized because it causes harm, it's demonized because it actually helps the body abundantly, and it can't be patented.
And they don't want us healthy. That's the whole thing. The drug companies, that are supposedly there to make people healthy, and yet it would seem that every which way they're doing the exact opposite as much as they can, unless they can make money off it and keep you going back to them.
Well, they're in the business of creating customers. We're in the business on the natural side of hoping that our relationship with our customer isn't going to be lifelong. We want it to be a good relationship that leads the person to a healthy life. But, we want to see people go through a restorative process and not have to take products where, this is where the big corporations that are against natural, we're cutting into their profits and we're cutting into their customer base, and they want to. How many people do you know in your life, and anybody watching this, that's on those, we'll call them laboratory created products, ever get off of them? And if anything, it's not a matter of getting off of them, it's how many are you taking on a daily basis. And that number seems to increase over somebody's lifespan that, I get on calls every day with people that we help consult. They're on 40, 50 medications.
Yeah, it's
and
crazy.
It's like when we go back to that story of that divine creation and that divine part of our body, it's actually impossible for one of those substances to heal the body. Like, it just doesn't work because it's back to how our body was designed. So what those substances end up doing is they actually mask the channel of communication to the brain to say, okay, I'm taking this because I'm in pain. Okay, well, let's shut the pain receptors off. Let's shut these different receptors off to the brain so that you feel, or you think you feel better. But is the body getting better? Absolutely not. We're just increasing the speed of the deterioration process.
That's very interesting. I hadn't really thought of it quite like that before. That's fascinating. So, I mean, I'm going to, because I've been suffering the flu and got a cold and all that, I'm just going to very quickly ask you straight up about, your nasal sprays, because I'm thinking, right now that's what's in my mind. What would set your nasal sprays apart to make them worth it?
So we've infused silver in aloe. One of the biggest things that we've done differently than any other kind of nasal spray is we've infused that into the water molecule. So you don't have three separate, I'm going to say, compounds. We've combine those into one, where you've got the silver molecule embedded in the water molecule as well as the aloe molecule. So when we look at bioavailability, when we look at delivery, when we look at getting this, deep into the nasal passages, and I'm going to say that runs down through the ears, because a lot of times nasal congestion is actually an ear infection and it goes unrecognized. So we want to clean out that whole system from the ears to the nasal and get this deep into where that is happening from. So that's the biggest difference than what we've done with the nasal spray as compared to, I'm going to say, a 3-part nasal spray or different nasal sprays that are different components working sort of together but apart. We've made sure that this is all in one unit. So it's, like I say, it's getting there, it breaks through the blood-brain barrier, gets into the parts of the body that it's needed the most.
Okay, well, that's awesome. And obviously we weren't intending to make this an advertising thing, and I appreciate, I know your heart is not to be doing that, but at the same time, this is valuable information. And, and I do want to see your products sell too. So,
Thank you.
So now, just our time's kind of getting on. So taking it back, when we look at all of this, what if there's a multi-prong approach that people you think should take at this point in time to stay healthy? What would you suggest that people do?
Just be cautious and conscious. I guess conscious is the word, as to everything that we're putting into and onto our body. And you almost can gamify it a little bit, but in the foods that you eat, if it's coming out of a box and it's coming out of a can, you know that product has been, severely manipulated in a laboratory. Same with your health supplements, same with anything that you're taking. Just pay really close attention to making smart decisions every day. And it's hard, you can't just say, okay, I'm going to flip the switch and this is going to be it, because we're talking about habits. We're talking about what we've grown up in. We're talking about a lot of different moving pieces. So if we can just every day start to think about, okay, I'm going to the grocery store today. What are some small changes I need to make? When I look at my deodorants, my shampoos, my toothpastes, and this kind of stuff, how can I start to incorporate something healthier into my life, right? Yeah. And just start to chip away at it bit by bit. Some people can make the switch and say, okay, I'm going to make this whole lifestyle change overnight. But for most of us, it's a process, right? Mm. And I think if we do that and we really start to be conscious of these things, the beautiful thing about what God gave us in this vessel of a body is He gave us a healing, treating, curing machine, right? And if a product is telling you, hey, I'm going to fix you in 30 days, it's not. You will feel some effects positively from some health products over the 30 days. But just remember, when we're sick and tired and our body's kind of beat up from the abuse we've put it all through all the years, the restorative process is going to take some time. So just keep working at it. But we've been so conditioned by the internet and everything to think that, hey, I take this magic whatever and it's going to fix everything overnight. Yeah, it's making a difference and it may be jump starting, but the road to getting ourselves better is going to take some time and some dedication doing so. But God did give us a gift, and He gave us a body that restores itself and rejuvenates itself. So as much as the enemy is going to do whatever he can to destroy this body and destroy us as people, God always wins. And God wins in this case as well, from the fact that He gave us a body that can restore itself, and we can be bigger than the enemy on this if we choose to.
That's a great way of looking at it. Yeah, and I guess, spiritually we want our eyes opened in every area, and that includes our health. We can, our spiritual health, obviously, but our physical health too. I mean, we function a heck of a lot better when we're feeling well than if we aren't. So we may as well look at a holistic kind of approach to all of it. So once more before we leave, and that was a great interview, I just want you to just let people know where they can find you online again, Doug.
They can find us at AmeoLife, AmeoLife.com. Ameo means to love, so that the foundation of who we are is to love life, and just do everything that we can to bring what God gave us into the human body. So we try to make sure that everything that we put into our products as it came from the earth, and I don't even want to say Mother Nature because I hate that reference.
Me too. Yeah.
So when it's God that gave us the world, not nature. So when I look at that, it's in not playing arrogance. It's like, how do we get these vitamins, minerals, substances from the earth into the human body without running them through these crazy laboratory processes and destroying the ingredients, but just getting them into the body as God gave them to us to get to the body, and realizing that us as people aren't smart enough to do what he did to promote that healing aspect of health.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Doug. That was great, and we'll have to get you back again sometime in the not too distant future and discuss this some more. So awesome. It was a fantastic discussion. Thank you.
Thank you.
And also, folks, don't forget our website is aminutemidnite.com, with Midnite spelled MIDNITE. Please make sure that you're subscribed to us and also our various platforms that we post the videos on. And A Minute to Midnight is run 100% by donations. It's always appreciated, the people that do help us out, so thanks to those folks. And if anyone else does want to help through donating, you can do that at aminutemidnite.com as well. And the music used, I've written, played and recorded. And if you want to download some free music, you can find that at our website too. So God bless, and hopefully we'll be back with another video in a few days' time.